Who's somebody, yeah, all the way in the back.
Harry, Peter Kasoy. I just want to know, during the discovery of separating from Nassau, moving over to Oyster Bay, can we do our own analysis of dollars to set up our own Laurel Hollow place again, what the numbers would run?
The answer is no. You know, one of the reasons is in this day and age, it's extremely difficult for a small village to operate independently with their own police force, just as we are finding out from our neighbors here. One of the reasons that they are interested in doing this with us, and we have gotten this far, is because their costs have escalated dramatically. So that's an option which at least our experts always advised us would not be, you know, very good. So all I can say is, I mean, what we have done here, or what we are doing now, is kind of the best of both worlds. I mean, it's a neighboring village with very similar demographics, very similar geography, a lot of similarities. I mean, when you start to compare the two villages, almost they are so identical. We have one elementary school in Laurel Hollow, one elementary school in Oyster Bay Cove. We have one cemetery in Laurel Hollow. We have one cemetery in Oyster Bay Cove. We have one nature preserve in Laurel Hollow, Fox Hollow. We have one nature preserve in Oyster Bay Cove. We have one institution, Cold Spring Harbor here. We have one institution in so we are so similar. And I think it'll almost be seamless integration and having, you know, operating hopefully as one department which will be serving both villages. Okay, Nancy, the hand was up first, and I'll just.
Does a patrol car move throughout the village onto every street every day?
Yes. That is the purpose of a patrol car, to patrol. That's what we expect as the trustees and residents to go around and be patrolling the village and not just be parked in a place.
So on any single day, one car is responsible for traveling through Laurel Hollow?
Yes.
And perhaps the same car travels through Oyster Bay Cove?
No, the Oyster Bay Cove will have its own car, which will patrol Oyster Bay Cove.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You had your hand up.
Thank you. John Fitzgerald. On the percentage, you have the 4% that's built in as an increase annually. What percentage is the fixed out of the $1.2 million that you were showing on the graph?
Okay, so I cannot give you the exact numbers at this point because that 45%, so here's how it's going to work. It's one.
Well, no, just out of the 1.2 million, if you said the first year, was 600 of it 50% fixed and variable? Or?
It's more like between 850 and 950 type of number would be the fixed number. Mm-hmm. But that would come when Oyster Bay adopts its budget for the next fiscal year, and then we will know that what that 45% component will be, which will be subtracted from 1.250, and that will form the fixed cost.
Yeah, so the 4% is not on the whole 1.2,
no,
it's
no,
just
no,
on the fixed
no.
component, so it's closer to 3 or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be, at this point, the calculations we have done, it's anticipated it'll be somewhere between 850 to 950 type number. But let me also point out that that 4%, the variable component, the 45% variable component, that is subject to adjustment in subsequent years depending upon the actual number. So just as I said, that those 4 components are really not in anybody's control because of the state involvement. So they also make some assumptions in their budget, just like we make assumptions in our budget. And at the end of the year, if that number is higher or lower, then in subsequent year, if that number is actually higher than the budgeted amount, we will owe them 45% of overage. If it's under, then they will owe us a credit back of the difference between 45% of the credit back, but difference between the actual and the budgeted sum.
What kind of influence do you have on what gets included in the budget?
I beg your pardon?
What kind of influence do you have on what's included in the budget?
It's basically, those are the 4 elements. That's all they have to, that's what they have to budget on. And you know, again, they know what they're, you know, they're projecting based upon, they have the historical information on what the numbers have been, using 10 officers. And they will be increasing the staff by 4, so they will budget accordingly as to what the budget will be for, with the increased police force. It's very hard to pin that down. I wish we struggled with
No,
it
I wouldn't
also.
expect you to be exact at this point.
Yeah, but you understand basically the concept is what it is. So. Okay. There's another hand, this right here, and.
Jay Steinberg. If I remember correctly, when we went from our private police department to Nassau County, some of the officers that we had in Laurel Hollow joined the Nassau Police Department, and they continued to patrol our neighborhood. I am sure, I don't question any of the numbers you go over. You guys have studied it, just as I don't question the capabilities of the Oyster Bay Cove Police Department. But I'm trying to find out what procedure, if any, will be available for us to show the Oyster Bay Cove Police Department the intricacies of Laurel Hollow. For instance, somebody mentioned a police officer that gives out the most tickets every day on Cold Spring Road because people leaving the Long Island Railroad from 4:30 to 6 go down a 40-mile-an-hour street at 70. So
Yep.
she's there every day, and a certain spot can give out 100 tickets if she wanted to. But my point is, there's going to be a learning process, and I'm sure they're more than capable of doing it.
Sure.
But I'm wondering if there's any procedure we could have in effect to try to give them a little hint of what goes on, like the stop signs that they run through every day on 25A.
Yep.
There are certain spots that when the officer is not there, and if you would sit there, you wonder why there aren't 100 accidents.
Right.
So I just wanted to know, is there anything that could be set up or would be set up to get some input from people that can see what's going on? Not that they have to do it.
Sure,
but
sure.
just
No,
to-
there are 2 mechanisms. I got the point. So basically, I have been serving as the Commissioner of Police for Laurel Hollow, or a trustee who has the liaison with the police for any resident or any village-related issues. So that is one mechanism, and I, hope to continue to maintain that, and that's a part of our contract as well, that there will be one representative, one board member who will be responsible for exactly what you said, to make sure that the proper services are being conducted. Also, you'll recall that in my presentation, I also outlined that currently the second mechanism we have is that at every Board of Trustees meeting, there is a sergeant or an officer from 2nd Precinct currently who comes. So in the contract, we have this requirement that the chief, or in his absence, he can't be there 100% of the time, but I'm sure he'll try to be there as much as possible, will be there. And typically at a Board of Trustee meetings, I'm sure you have attended, I know you have attended. So one of the issues, we start with the police report, which by the way is also in our contract. They will be submitting us a similar report. And at that point, during the month, any feedback we get from the residents or residents who are present at the meeting, we address those concerns, and we communicate to our officers as to what are the trouble areas or where we want them to give attention to. There's one question here.
I need a microphone, thank you. My name is Judy Zinn, and I've lived in the village not as long as Ms. Parker, but long enough to have remembered the contentious meeting that evolved when we switched from the Laurel Hollow Police Department to the Nassau County Police. And there's always going to be a learning curve. But I think anyone who knows this village knows that we residents are not shy. And we would think nothing of alerting the police if there were a spot that people were speeding through. And I think that that's something that they are professional enough to take under advisement if we were to alert them about these situations that could be potentially hazardous.
Absolutely.